This is search cpan.org, one of the interfaces to cpan, to all the data that's on cpan, all the third-party modules on cpan. In this series, we're going to go over the UI that search cpan.org provides. There are two reasons for doing this. One of them is it's a good idea to go over the UI and explain each part what does it mean, and to make it easier for you to use it and to exploit various things that the search cpan interface provides. But the other reason is that I'm working on a clone of this UI, and I want to make sure that it's exactly the same as this UI, well, maybe except of a couple of bug fixes or a couple of things that we cannot really implement. And this series can be used as a description of the website, as a specification of what needs to be done. So we'll go over the whole site in a couple of screencasts. But let's start with a few pages which are easier. So here, this is the main page. There are a couple of menu items at the top. There is a search box here. In the left corner, there are some numbers, some statistical numbers from the whole cpan. As it later turned out, this information is available on every page on search cpan. And on the right-hand side, we can see the logo of the company that's probably providing the hosting service for this for the machines of search cpan.org. The first link is linking back to this home page. The second, authors, is the URL author. Just shows us a list of letters. Again, the statistical numbers here. Otherwise, the difference is that the search box jumped here to the top left side. If I click on one of the names, one of the letters, then it will list all the user IDs, all the users, all the cpan users that has a user ID starting with that letter, so the letter D in this case. And we can scroll down, it's all the users, starting with D. Now, if you look at it, for example, there is Ivan Baidaku, who well, he has a name as a D in the name, but the point is that his name doesn't start with a D, but the user ID is. So, and here's, for example, Jason Lean, who doesn't have a D in his name, but the user ID starts with a D. So this the name starting with a D. Now, and this is the same URL as we had earlier, except that the question mark and the letter. Now, if I add another letter, just let's try this, and scroll down, it still shows all the names, D, B, and all the other names. So it doesn't filter for DA, it still filters for just the letter D. That's one thing. And then if we click through one of the names, for example, David Golden, then we arrive to the tilde user ID, but in this case, the user ID is in lowercase. And this page shows lots of information about this person and about all the distributions that this person, or the releases that this person released. And we'll go over this page later on. For now, let's go back to the simpler one, so the authors page. Then there is the recent page, which shows the recently released distributions or releases to cpan, so the zip files that were uploaded to cpan. This page shows the 1 week, the last week, so today is 26th October, and we can scroll down, and the last day showing here is the 20th, so it's 1 week. And then I'm not sure if within 1 day the names are ordered by date, but I guess they are. We'll see it probably later when we implement this and then try to compare it. But this is grouped by dates. Now, if I click on one of them, it leads to a page which starts with the tilde user ID of the person who released it, and then the name of the release, which contains both the name of the distribution, so the name of the package or whatever it's called, and the version number usually. So this is the specific release of this thing. We go over that page. We're going to go over that page separately again. Now, going back to the recent page, there are two arrows. The right arrow doesn't actually work here. probably because this is the last week currently. So I can click on the left arrow and it jumps back to showing the date here at the top, d equal the date, so it's a year, month, day format of the last day of the previous of 1 week ago. It doesn't. It's not calendar weeks. It's just 7 days, and then it shows those 7 days. This time again, I can go back even further from week or go ahead, back basically to the last week. But this time this already works, and I can also change this to some other date, and then it will show the week ending with that date. So that's 7 days ending with that date. This is the recent page, and that's actually a good place to see what's new on cpan, although these are both distributions that were uploaded for the first time, and also distributions that were uploaded, a new version of them was uploaded, so it's just new. Then there is a page called News, which is not actually on search.cpan.org, it's on logpearl.org. The link leads to a place that doesn't really exist, probably anymore. So we can remove that link, and then here we can read about the infrastructure of Perl.org, of cpan.org, of various sites maintained by the group of people maintaining the Perl infrastructure. That's the news. Mirrors we're going to go over separately. FAQ is just a bunch of frequently asked questions. They are slightly out of date. For example, they're still mention Cope's search, cpan.org, even though it has been basically shut down. And the URL is forwarding back to search cpan.org. And it doesn't mention MetaCpan, but this is the frequently asked questions. It's a static page, so there's not much to work on this later on. Just copy it and maybe update it. And there is a feedback page that is just basically another question, how to provide feedback either to this website, to the search cpan.org, there is the URL, there's the email address, or where to ask questions about specific cpan modules or about Perl, which are all kind of other places. And here too, we can probably add more places to ask questions. So that's it for now. We're going later on. We're going to go over probably the more interesting pages about the authors specifically, and about the distributions, about the documentation of the specific module.